Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel where we talk all things about interior design tips and inspiration. In today's video, we're going to be talking about lighting and how you can make sure that you're picking the right lighting for your home and for you, and also different ideas on how you can make your space feel brighter. Lighting has been a pretty important topic over the last 10 years or so, and most people are wanting to make their spaces brighter, wider, lighter, and if your house is not like this, or if you don't desire to have a more bright and light house, I don't think having the most well-lit home is everyone's priority, but I know a lot of people wish their spaces had more light or had a brighter appearance to it, and so that's why I'm making today's video. In interior design school, I took an entire course all about lighting. I won't say that I am a lighting expert just by taking this one course, because there are people who specialize specifically in lighting, because this is such an important topic and it's much more calculated and maybe even scientific than a lot of different parts of interior design. So this isn't going to be like a full video about everything super specifically. These are just my tips on how you can figure out how maybe to manipulate light in your home to get your desired outcome. If you do want to take this a step further, or if you're not getting the desired look that you're going for, then I would definitely look at a local lighting shop. They usually have specialists who can help you better make your space into that dream vision that you're having. Okay, the first thing that I want to talk about with lighting is Kelvins. Now, this is one thing that I think is very important, and that's why we're going to talk about it first. So Kelvin is a measurement of the light temperature that is output by a light bulb or a light. So on the low end of the spectrum, we have 2700 Kelvin, and on the high end of the spectrum, we have about 5000 Kelvin. So the lower the number, the warmer of the tone the light is going to be. So it's going to be more of a yellowy orange base. The higher the number, the 5000 range, is going to be a much more white blue tone. You might think right off the bat like, okay, so I want to have the highest Kelvin, that's going to be the brightest. Well, not necessarily. So the 5000 Kelvin range, if you look to see in this picture the different areas that it suggests you use this for, this is going to be very similar to like hospital style lighting, which if you're used to being in hospitals, or if you've been in hospitals and you've ever felt kind of bleh, it's not only just because hospitals don't usually have a very positive connotation, but it's also because the lighting in there isn't the most comfortable for us as humans. So actually the lower side of the spectrum is going to be most comfortable, especially if you have a lot of windows in your home and you're not going to be using the lights in your home during the day very often. Definitely the warmer hues and the warmer tones are going to be more comfortable at night. Think of like fancy restaurants where there's like candles. Candles give off a very orange yellow tone light, a very warm tone light, and that color is going to be more towards the 2700 to 3000 range. That 3000 range, the soft white color, is what I would suggest for you in your home as a general guideline. Obviously these are just preferences. You may be really into the cool tone, more the higher Kelvin side, but generally I feel like people are most comfortable with that 3000, around that 3000 mark. But whichever color temperature that you decide you want to go with, I would definitely suggest to make this consistent throughout your home. So if you need to like put that in your notes app or write it down somewhere, so anytime a light goes out in your home, I think it's good to know what Kelvin specifically that you're looking for so you can keep it cohesive throughout your home. I don't know if this is just the interior designer of me or if this is typical, but if you've ever seen two light bulbs right next to each other and one is a different tone than the other, it drives me nuts, and it throws off the color rendering of everything else in that space. If you have a cool tone over here and a warm tone over here, their light is more than likely going to overlap at some point and going to kind of distort the color of those things that it's affecting. In last week's video about color theory, I also showed this example. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how the color of this wood changes with different light. So I am filming with a ring light and it can change different colors. So I'm gonna show you how the color of this wood sample is going to change with the different colors of light. Okay, so right now we're just kind of in a neutral color with the light. I'm gonna switch it. this is more of a blue tone, so you can probably see that it changed the color a bit. Then we're gonna go to a warm tone, and you can definitely see how that changed the color of it. And I'm just going to turn the light off for a moment, and you can see how that changes it dramatically as well. Okay, now that's back to our normal light. Lighting's gonna change your paint, any colors really that you have in your house. Lighting is a huge contributor to how color comes off. Now, when you do go to buy these light bulbs, I do recommend looking for the Kelvin specifically, not just the label soft white or bright white, whichever of them that you're looking for. I would look specifically for the Kelvins to make sure that you can consistently get that throughout your home, and make sure, because some brands might think a soft white is a Kelvin that is different from what your house is. They might think a soft white is 3,500 when you're trying to stay at the 3,000 mark. Now, when it comes to the type of lights to buy, I always suggest LED. I think LED is more or less the norm now. If you've never invested into LED, they're not quite as expensive as they used to be in comparison to other lights. They're going to last you way, way longer. Two that I would make sure to definitely stay away from are incandescent and fluorescent. Fluorescent, even if you like the color of fluorescent, what bugs me the most about it is because it has kind of like this sound. Your light shouldn't be making a noise, and it's not like a very loud noise, it's pretty subtle. To me, it's just a little bit off-putting, so that's why I don't ever recommend fluorescent. And then incandescent can get pretty hot. You don't usually want your lights to get hot, just because it could potentially be a safety hazard depending on the light fixture that you're using and that sort of thing. The next way to determine what kind of light that you're going to need when you go to buy them is by the wattage. Now, there are calculations that you can do to figure out what wattage you need specifically. That I won't be going into. You can search for a different YouTube video on that if you'd like, from an electrician or someone that's, again, a little bit more skilled than I am. My recommendation is to always check either the bulb that is currently in that light, if it's an existing light that you already have, or if it's a new light that you are buying, then the website should definitely tell you what it is. The packaging should tell you. The light fixture itself should have a sticker towards where you would insert this light to let you know the wattage that it's recommended. I would take the wattage amount recommended very seriously. If you do something that is way too high, then again, this could be a potential safety hazard. If it's close to the wattage, then maybe you can get away with it, but I would definitely suggest going with the recommended wattage. If this is like an existing light in your home and you don't feel like it's bright enough or something, it sounds like maybe you should add different or more light sources, not necessarily just buy a higher wattage bulb. Okay, so those are my tips on how to pick out light bulbs when you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, or when you're just picking out lights in general. To increase kind of like the brightness or make your space feel bigger and brighter, I have a few more additional tips for that. If you want to increase the brightness of your home, then one suggestion that I have is to use more materials that are reflective. So it's a little bit more glossy, it's more satiny, has some sort of sheen to it. It's going to reflect more light. The most common example of this is everyone says to put a mirror somewhere to bounce light off, right? Which is a very effective way to make a space feel bigger, brighter, and bounce more light around. But it doesn't necessarily just have to be a mirror. You could use a high gloss material, really glossy countertop, glossy tiles instead of matte tiles. You can obviously see how the material of this water bottle reflects off light. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a mirror. More glass, anything that's going to have a shiny effect, anything that's not super matte is going to bounce back more light and make your space feel bigger and brighter. You can always add LED strip lights to places like above your cabinets is a really cool place to do it because it's hidden, but it definitely elevates and makes your eye go up, making your space feel bigger. You can also attach puck lights if you buy a light and just insert it onto the wall, but you don't want to do any of the hard wiring to make that light up, then you can add puck lighting. Those come with an app that you just download, so that's how you turn them on. And then my last tip for making your space look brighter and bigger is to continue the same paint color from floorboards and molding all the way up to ceiling. I talk a lot about this in my ceiling video, which I will link above, but this is a good way to make your space feel bigger because there is one continuous color going from bottom to top, so it's less for your brain to look at in different chunks. All right, everyone, that is everything that I have for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to catch you next week.